everyone, my name, as always, is Chaos in the Sky, and welcome to a bit of a weird video. Not what you normally see on this channel, since the channel is normally, like, you know, fun playthroughs, etc., but I'm doing something a little different today, in that I'm doing a tier list on the Tier Maker website. I actually made this one myself for this, but, I uploaded an Among Us video earlier today, actually, and by earlier today, I mean like 2 hours ago. It's almost midnight for me, but someone left a comment saying, hey, like 4 or 5 videos ago, you were gonna rank all of the people in the group of how much you trust them or not, but then you got interrupted by a body being called, and you never did that. I think that was, I want to say Seeker's Hound was the name of the commenter. He's been a long-term viewer. I believe it was him. But, he brought that up, and I was like, you know what? You're right. I didn't make that list, even though I said I would mid-video there. So, now I'm gonna make, like, an entire video out of it. I don't know how long this is gonna be. It's gonna be wild. I've got Hacker's memory music in the background set to just open on a YouTube video, set to loop, so I know that I've gone more than 9 minutes if I hear the music loop. But yeah, I basically just put together this little tier thing. I just used basic numbers. I didn't want to do stuff, or these aren't numbers, these are letters. This video is off to a great start. I shouldn't be trying to do this near midnight. But I just used the basic letters and then like added an F and an S++ tier for it. But yeah, I'm also going into this like with no plan or anything. Like I didn't try and do the tier list beforehand to know where I was putting people. I'm doing this completely off the cuff. There's no script or anything. We're just gonna go for it, brother, and see what happens. So I've got all my friends here and myself as well. Don't tell them that I said they were my friends. That's a lie. But except Richie, he's my bestest of friends. I didn't want to. I had to make all of these images myself as well, so I didn't like get everyone's accessories. Jet doesn't have her flower. Lauren's missing her bat wings. But I'm pretty sure I got everyone's color right. I think Juan and Carson are normally green and pink, and they match up with RTK and Richie. But I think I've got it all right with the colors we normally use in my streams. So, yeah, we're gonna rank all of my friends. This is gonna be based on how much I trust them. This isn't me. If you came into this thinking like, oh, you're gonna rank them based on how good of a player you think they are. No, that's not what this list is. Maybe I'll do that one later. But I'm ranking this based on how much I trust them, which is a really hard thing to rank because it obviously depends going from game to game. Like, I could be, depending on what happens in a game, I could be super trustworthy of Carson and not trustworthy of, like, Lauren. But in a totally different, like, the very next game, depending on what happens, I could be super trustworthy in Lauren and want to throw Carson under a bus. So, the criteria for this is going to be pretty weird. I'm basically going to be going off of my general, like an average, basically, of my knowledge of how trustworthy I found them throughout games in general, and how trustworthy I would be of them with little to no information to go off of. So, you know, and I'll kind of explain why I put people in what tiers as we go. But anyways, we're gonna start with Slyro. I'm gonna do Slyro first, for a very specific reason, and you'll see why we're starting with Slyro in just a minute. But the first one I'm gonna rank is Slyro. So, Sly, he's a bit of a, I shouldn't have started with Slyro, because he's a bit of a tough one, actually. It's, it heavily depends on if he vented in front of someone or not. But, because he has, especially in the last 2 streams we've done, he's had a tendency to just, like, kill someone and then vent right in front of another human being and immediately get outed for it, rather it be ping issues or his own mistakes. But, in general, I find that Sly is typically, I would put him on the more trustworthy side, personally. I feel like more often than not, Slyro has a good record of explaining where he is. Usually he'll take a minute to think. He'll have to, like, you know, some people have said before, like, oh, how could you have trusted Slyro? It took him, like, he had to really stop and think to, like, come up with an alibi. And I'm like, that's not Sly coming up with an alibi. It just takes my man a second to figure stuff out. You know what I mean? So, usually Slyro is pretty good at explaining himself, where he is, his route, and why he should or should not be trusted. So, he's got that going for him. Not the most trustworthy, though. Also, Sly, especially in the videos I've been rendering lately, normally if Sly is bad, he will give himself away. I was just watching back one of the videos the other day where Sly was explaining his route, and it incriminated him entirely, but he told the truth. and then he got incriminated for it. So I put Sly at fairly trustworthy, all things considered. What's the middle of the tier list? The middle of the tier list is B, right? There's 3 above it, 3 below it. I want to put Sly right above the B tier list. So I'm gonna put Sly in the A tier list, and when I move Sly, you're gonna see why we had to do Sly first. So Slyro, he gets to go into A. So there you go, Sly. You're in the A of trustworthiness. So now, as you can see down here, there are actually 2 Slyros. This is also Slyro, except this Slyro is in a universe where I'm currently on cams. And if I'm on cams, my trust of Slyro goes to literally as low as humanly possible. If I'm on cams and I see Slyro coming anywhere in my general vicinity, I have a panic attack and know that my days are numbered if I can't get out of there fast enough. So, if I'm on cams, Sly is the person I trust least in my life. But as long as I'm not on cams, I think I got a pretty good chance at trusting Slyro. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, all things considered. You know what I mean? So, Sly, there's Sly's 2 rankings there, and there aren't any other doubles. If there was another one, it would have come up right here, but that's why we did Slyro first. So, who's next to be ranked? You know what, I'm gonna go ahead and rank Juan here, because I think Juan has only ever been in 1 stream with us, but I put him in the tier making list anyways, because he was in a stream with us. I played with him before, so I felt it was only right that he got to be here, even if he's only been in 1 stream. However, because I've only been in 1 stream with Juan, I know Juan outside of streams. Me and him used to be in the same Pokemon League way back in the day. That feels like another life now. But, Juan, I'm just gonna put Juan in the middle. Like, straight up, I'm sorry, Juan, that I don't have a whole lot to say, but like I said, you've only been in 1 stream with me. From the 1 stream we played, I believe Juan was still fairly new at the game. I vaguely remember him asking, like, a question of, like, hey, how does medbay work or something like that. So, but I haven't played with Juan as extensively as everyone else, so I can't really, like, super distrust or super trust him. So I'm just gonna put him in the middle of the road, you know? I think that's fair. I think that's where he belongs. Now, let's do, I want to do the people that I don't get to play with as often first, so I think Carson or Armed would be next. Let's do Carson. Carson is he's a bit of a strange one, because this isn't, like I said, this list is based on how much I trust or do not trust my fellow Among Us players. So, Carson, I think... Where would I put Carson? He's gonna be near the middle of the road, because the thing about Carson is that he's like... He's not good at being imposter. I'll just say it, and he can get upset at me if he wants. He's not the best when it comes to being imposter. He has a bit of trouble if he just like walks around and murders stuff. He's pretty good at doing his tasks though. He gets his tasks done pretty quick, so I'll give him that. He's a pretty good crewmate in terms of getting tasks done. In terms of like sussing people out, I don't think he's super great at that. So actually, the more I think about it, because of his inability to really hide kills effectively and be able to lie his way out of situations, I actually think he's a little more trustworthy. I feel like if Carson is bad and he has to convince me, like, he's not going to be able to do it. He's not going to be able to lie efficiently. He's going to kind of get screwed up. I almost kind of want to put him in the middle of the road with Juan, to be honest. Yeah, I think in the middle of the road is pretty good, because I feel like, oh, I'm at 9 minutes because the music just looped. But, I feel like Carson isn't necessarily that I would believe what he would say, but more so that if he was being, I feel like if he was being bad, I would be able to suss him out very effectively. I think that he would be bad at lying his way out of one of my moments of like, aha, I've got you. You know what I mean? If I think it's Carson, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to like suss him out. He's not going to be able to convince me out of it. So, because of that, actually, maybe I should put him like 1 lower. It's hard to rank like how much I trust him, because I don't like, I don't know, I wouldn't trust Carson in a normal scenario. In Among Us, I feel like, nah, I'm going to put him in the middle of the road. If Carson, I feel like I'd be able to trust what Carson says, and if I had any reasonable sus on him, he wouldn't be able to lie his way out of it. So I think middle of the road with Juan is pretty fair in that instance. Let's do Lone Wolf next. My boy Lone Wolf. Been a long-time viewer, long-time friend of mine. Don't tell him I said that. Long-time mod. Really good at his job that he doesn't get paid for. He gets paid in watching my content. That's better than any monetary value, clearly. But, Lone Wolf, I'm gonna hit you with a hot take. I'm gonna put Lone Wolf, like, after I've seen him playing recently, I'm gonna put Lone Wolf down in D tier for trustworthiness. And here's why. First of all, Lone Wolf doesn't talk very much. He's like Laxius from Kingdom Hearts. You know, the silent hero. Except he's also the silent villain. Because if Lone Wolf is the imposter, I'm not gonna get much chance to, like, try and suss him out or anything. Because he doesn't talk that much. And therefore, it's hard to trust him. Because when he does talk, I'm like, oh man, you barely ever talk. I don't know if you're telling the truth or not. You know what I mean? Also, it's really hard to trust Lone Wolf. Because if you leave Lone Wolf alive on, like, 7 people in an Among Us game, he'll clutch out 3 kills and win the game, all by himself. Like, if his imposter buddy is alive, his imposter buddy doesn't have to do anything. If Lone Wolf is the imposter on 7, he's gonna get 3 kills. Like, it's gonna happen. If you're on, like, 4 or maybe even 5 people left, and he's the only imposter, he could clutch out a win. So I really can't trust anything he says, because if he is bad, he's gonna clutch out a win, and I'm gonna feel stupid for letting him clutch out a win. I can't talk. So I'm actually gonna put Lone Wolf pretty low on the trust tier, purely because I'm afraid to trust him. If I trust Lone Wolf and he turns out to be the imposter in, like, a 2 imposter 7 people situation, or a 1 imposter 4 or even 5 people situation, it's hard for me to trust Lone Wolf, because he has the track record of, like, pulling off a victory. It's super, super spooky, you know what I mean? Who do I want to rank next? Let's rank my boy Pete. Let's come down here to Pete. What's going on, Pete? Pete, actually, I'm fairly trusting of, because I think Pete is a bad liar. No offense to Pete, but I feel like Pete normally, when he's imposter, he'll just, like, get caught a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time he'll just get caught, and then that's that. So it's happened on more than one occasion. Also, I feel like he's not, I feel like I can suss out Pete. If Pete is lying or trying to give me a story, I feel like normally I can tell it's happening. So I'm actually pretty trusting of Pete, because when he tells me something, I feel like either he'll be telling me the truth, or it's gonna be a lie that I can easily find out. So I kinda want to put Pete at, like, the A rank, because I feel like if I was forced into a situation where I had little knowledge, I'd be more willing to believe Pete's side of the story than, say, Carson or Lone Wolf's side of the story, you know what I mean? Kind of like with Slyro. If I had very little information to go off of, and Slyro gave me, like, a detailed report of what he's done, and it didn't incriminate him horribly, then I'd probably be willing to trust Slyro in such a situation, unless I'm on cams. If I'm on cams, all bets are off. But, yeah, I think that's how I do that one. So, how many people? We got 1, 2, mine doesn't really count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got 8 more people to rank here? Okay. I'm already almost at 15 minutes. This video is going to be over half an hour long, which I was not expecting. Let's rank RTK. I don't trust RTK. I don't. I just don't trust this man. Look at him. He's so suspicious, and just, I haven't gotten to play with RTK in a little while, because, unfortunately, our timelines haven't matched up, because, Saturdays are the best day for our group to stream Among Us, and RTK works on Saturdays. He's only free on Monday and Tuesdays, usually only Tuesdays. So I haven't gotten to play with RTK in a hot minute. However, he's just not a trustworthy man. And the worst part about it is, it's kind of like the opposite of Pete. RTK, or not really the opposite of Pete, more like the opposite of Slyro, actually, I meant to say. The opposite of Slyro. Slyro will, like, explain his route and all that, and I can kind of trust him, by the way, because, like, he's, like, good at explaining stuff, and usually he'll incriminate himself because he won't want to straight up lie, because he'll usually get caught if he does. RTK, however, whether he's innocent or evil, he'll just say a bunch of nonsense. Like, there's no telling what this man will ever say. There have been some I remember one game we were playing where he was hanging out with Lauren the whole time, and for the entire game, he just told Lauren he will not confirm nor deny anything, even though he could clear Lauren from being evil, or something like that. But, so RTK, he's too much of a wild card for me to trust. I just cannot, I've done so many collaborations with this man, and done, like, our Mega Man verses and stuff like that. I love him like a brother. I was the best man at his wedding. but I cannot trust him in the video game Among Us. It just cannot be done. I can't trust this man. He's too spooky. He's not as bad as Sly, but I'm on cams. But he's like, he's down there. He's down there. Let's do Armed next. Armed is a tough one. Again, I feel like he's going to be kind of middle of the road. I don't know if he'd be... I don't think he'd be B. But I don't know if I'd put him in A or C, to be honest. It's kind of a tough pick. You can't see it because I don't face cam, but I'm stroking my chin right now in thought. I haven't shaved in a couple of days. I got some stubble going on. Unfortunately, I can't, I do not have the genetics for good facial hair. Otherwise, I'd try and grow out a beard and see what it was like. But it can't be done. I just played with Arm last stream. Armed has also only been in 2 streams, so I don't have a ton of information to go on him, much like Juan. But I have a bit more for Armed than I do Juan. Armed and I also shared a hotel room. So when I went to Indie PopCon one year, that was 2 years ago? That would have been 2018 or 2019? I think it was 2019 PopCon. And then 2020 PopCon obviously didn't happen because, pandemic. I feel like Armed gets imposter a lot, and also he kind of says the same stuff, whether he's innocent or guilty. So I think that makes him just slightly less trustworthy than average. So I'm going to put him in rank C. I feel like that's fair. He's just slightly untrustworthy in Among Us. In real life, I'd trust him pretty hard, because I trusted him to share a hotel room with me for a couple of nights, so... That's a pretty high level of trust right there. But I'm going to put him just under B. He's just on the edge of being into B rank in my eyes. So next, which one of these? Look at these. These are some rough ones here. Well, actually, 2 of them are really easy, but the others are a little rough. Let's do Michael. Michael, I actually think Michael is about to end up right where Armed is. To be real with you, I think Michael is going to go into the C tier because Michael and I, we have a little bit of a vendetta for each other. But also at the same time, first of all, especially in the last stream or 2 I've had with Michael, he's been off his game and he's thrown his imposter hard, so it's been easy to suss him out. But Michael is, he's fairly intelligent when it comes to Among Us. He can work out, does this make sense? Does this add up? Was it possible for this to happen? No, it couldn't. So, he's got some knowledge going in there, and that spooks me when I'm imposter, because he's always got a vendetta for me, and I always have a bit of a vendetta for him. We never want the other one to win. Oh, the music just looped again, so that means we're at 18 minutes. But, yeah, I think Michael's gonna go into just slightly untrustworthy. He's below Armed for sure in the tier list. Arm is the top of C, Michael is the bottom of C. But, what makes Michael a bit more trustworthy to me than Lone Wolf or RTK is that if I can discern that Michael is innocent, I know that he's a good asset to me. Because if I'm innocent and he's innocent, we're both clever people. If we combine our powers, it's amazing. But also, sometimes it's really hard to tell if he's innocent. So even when he is innocent, I could still be like, ooh, is it you, Michael? And then even when I'm innocent, Michael will be like, I'm not letting Chaos get a win, and he'll sus me, etc., etc. So, yeah, it's a rough position to be in. So I think by default, just because of our antagonistic nature against one another in video games, I feel like I'm predisposed to distrust Michael a little bit, but not enough to put him in a super low tier, because I can normally work out if he is innocent, and if I can, confirm to myself, yes, Michael is innocent, then me and him can do some great detective work together. So that's what keeps him from going down into, D or even the forbidden F tier. So that puts him there. Next, let's do Lauren. Lauren, a good friend of Michael. She won't like that I said that Michael was her friend, but it's my YouTube video. She can't stop me. But, yeah, so Lauren. I'm just jamming out to the music. Just give me a moment. I'm having a hard time deciding. I feel like I'm more predisposed to trust Lauren than to not, but I don't know if I want to put her in A tier. So I'm kind of I'm kind of at an impasse. Do I want Lauren to be in the B tier, or do I want to put Lauren up into the A tier? It's a hard decision to make, you know? I feel like I want to put Lauren in A tier. I want to give her just a little bit more trust than I would Carson, because Lauren, I feel like I can kind of figure out if Lauren is bad or not. Pretty much is what it comes down to. Also, like, I don't want to put Lauren in the middle, because that feels like I'm putting her in a situation that might make her snap. Which is something I don't want to do, but end up doing occasionally regardless. But, Lauren, I feel like Lauren is pretty trustworthy. She doesn't go super hard detective mode, really, when she's innocent. She normally just, like, she decides who she trusts, basically, based on how the games have been going. And when she does, that kind of lets me know if she's sus or not, if I can trust her or not. So I feel like, by default, I can normally decide, like, yeah, I trust Lauren and all. And I feel like she also, when she's imposter and she gets kills, she doesn't come up with super elaborate stories, really, or, like, super thought-out ideas to how she can prove her innocence. She's normally just like, oh, I wasn't there. And I can usually suss her out based on that. So I'm gonna put Lauren in the A tier for trusting right there. I think that's fair. Just, she, much like Armed, is just barely outside of the B tier. Oh, we're gonna set my throat. Lauren is also, she's on the edge of B and A tier. She is the bottom of the A tier, for sure, when it comes to trustworthiness. She's almost in that middle road with Juan and Carson, but she's not quite there. So, let's do Lauren's husband next, which is Liam. Ugh. This is hard, because I feel like I could put Liam basically anywhere between S and D rank. I feel like he could fit literally anywhere. I'm going to drop him in B for just a second, but I want to think about this a little bit more. It's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Liam, it's similar to Michael, and I almost want to just put Liam in the C tier with Michael. Because Liam is, when he's innocent, he's really trustworthy, and he's a good, like, fellow crewmate to have on hand, if you can figure out that he's innocent. But then the problem comes is that he's also pretty darn good at lying, at being imposter. He's also one of the few people other than me who can control a conversation when a meeting happens. He's pretty darn good at, like, taking the lead and bringing people along with him, which makes him super dangerous as an imposter, but fairly useful as a crewmate. So it's a hard pick on where to put Liam. I almost want to put him in the B tier just because he could go either way. He could be, like, I feel like I can never truly trust Liam, but I can also never just, like, discredit anything Liam says. You know what I mean? So I think I might actually leave him right there in the center. Because until I'm, like, deep in a game with Liam and I've had, like, time to see what happens throughout the game and hear what he's done from himself and other people, there's really no way for me to trust or distrust Liam. I feel like he's got to be in the middle. Like, each and every game, he starts kind of at neutral, and I have to work it out from there if he's good or bad. It's very difficult. There's no, like, predisposition to trust or not trust him. So yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna leave that one. So we'll go from Liam to his roommate, which is Shroom, and I mean, Shroom's going in the F tier. Like, I don't really feel like I need to discuss this or really defend myself in any way, shape, or form. Like, it's Shroom. I don't trust Shroom. I don't trust Shroom in the slightest. I will say that Slyro, like, when I'm on cams, Slyro is the person I trust the absolute least, even less so than Shroom. Like, if I'm on cams and I ever even think of Slyro, I begin to fear for my very existence. So yeah, like, but excluding me being on cams, I think Shroom is probably the person I trust the least, just because he's Shroom. Shroom and I have a long-standing, like, love-hate relationship that is built upon the fact that we wouldn't trust one another with the simplest of tasks. I wouldn't trust Shroom to, like, get me my keys from the other room. Like, if we were in the same building and I was like, hey, Shroom, can you get my keys out of the kitchen? I wouldn't trust him with that task. I wouldn't trust him with anything, to be honest. Not unless I was supervising him. The only point where I ever trust Shroom is if I've been walking, like, in Among Us specifically. And even in real life, the only time I ever trust Shroom is if I've been walking right behind him, looking over his shoulder the entire time to make sure he hasn't done anything bad. And even then, I'm still a little like, I don't know, dude, it could be Shroom. So, yeah, Shroom, like, and I think Shroom will agree with me. I expect Shroom to watch this video and like, comment and be like, yeah, this is exactly fair. I would put you in the same position. So, like, Shroom, I think Shroom understands, and I think everyone watching understands that he truly belongs in the bottom tier. It would be his own Shroom tier if it weren't for the fact that when I'm on cam, Slyro makes me, like, have just nightmares. Daymares. Nightmares while I'm awake. So now, I gotta save the two best for last, which is me and Richie, obviously. So, Jet's gonna be next. And, Jet has been spooking me a little lately. She's kind of started to get on the lone wolf tier of just murdering people. In the last stream we did, Jet, I think, won 2 games, like the last 2 games of the stream. One of them was because of lag. She won because of lag, because I, like, hit the report button, but she killed me at the same time, and that ended the game. But, or Slyro killed me at the same time, I don't remember. But Jet has been, like, speed killing people, and it's kind of scary. She's adopted a new strategy that none of the other people in our group really have, where Jet kind of just, like, she plays risky and tries to kill people, like, at the very beginning. And it's backfired on her. I've caught her killing right out the gate before because of it. But it's also worked for her at times. So that's a little spooky. But that aside, I've known Jet for almost a decade. For those of you who don't know, I met Jet online when we were both in high school. I think I was either a junior or a sophomore in high school. So, and I'm 25 now. So I would have been like 16 or 17. Like, I'm coming up on a decade of knowing this woman. And the music looped again, which means we're coming up on half an hour for this video, but that's fine. It looks like it's going to end in about half an hour. I know Jet really well, and I also feel like Jet has a hard time lying her way out of stuff, because her way of lying out of stuff is to just constantly, like, aggressively attack another person, which she also does as a crewmate. But I feel like, given a little bit of context clues, I can normally figure out if Jet is bad or not, just based off of the fact that I've known her for so long. So, mostly because the tier is currently empty and I don't think anyone else will end up there, but also because it's about where she would end up anyway, I'm going to give Jet the honor of S tier. I trust Jet pretty hard. I feel like, given minimal information, I would be willing to trust Jet's story. And if I did have minimal information and Jet was trying to convince me while she was imposter, I feel like I would be able to suss her out. I feel like I'd be able to work it out, which means I'm more willing to trust her, because if she was lying to me, I'd know it. I'd be able to work it out. I'm not saying that every time Jet has lied to me, I haven't, like, immediately been like, oh, you're lying. Like, it's not like it's impossible for her to fool me. But my phone just went off, but, like, out of all of the possible people, I feel like I would be more predisposed to trust her just based off of our history together. So now we're down to the last 2. My name doesn't really matter. I just put myself here because I didn't want to be all alone. Also, I needed one more person to push Slyro's on the cams thing off screen at the start. But, I mean, do I really need to say anything else? Like, if we started a game and someone hit the button before anything even happened and said, like, we need to vote out Richie, I would vote out whoever said that. Like, I will always default to trusting Richie more than anyone else, because he's Richie. I miss him. He's the best. Like, what more could I possibly say? You know? That's just how it is. He's Richie. So, much like with Shroom, I feel like I don't really need to defend myself here. We all know that Richie and I have the ultimate bromance going on. Like, I trust him with my very soul. So, that's not to say that if he's obviously evil, I wouldn't suss him out and yeet him in Among Us. But by default, based on trust, I put Richie at the highest. Without a doubt. And then that just leaves me here, and, like, you know, I'll just put myself right up here in S rank, just to make it look kind of nice. It puts me close to Richie, but not quite on his level, and it puts me right next to Jet, my oldest friend. And it makes me look superior to everyone else because they're on a lower tier than me. But yeah, I think that about does it. So there's me ranking all of my friends based entirely on how much I feel I can or cannot trust them in a game of Among Us with minimal knowledge, or how effectively I would be able to suss them out. There's really no good way, no good criteria for this kind of list, which is probably why in that one Among Us video that a comment was left on where it was like, hey, you were gonna rank all the people based on trust, but then you didn't do it. Probably the reason I didn't do it is because I realized in the moment, like, this is basically a really weird thing to try and quantify that can't really be done effectively. But here, I did my best. So, I'm pretty sure it was, I should double check before I say this a second time, but I'm pretty sure it was Seeker's Hound who said he wanted to see this. It was him. There's his comment right there. So, I made this video just for you, Seeker Hound. I hope you appreciate it. And anyone else who happened to watch it, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Just a weird little funny half-hour video I decided to do. But, you know, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled content of playthroughs and Among Us and whatnot. But, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to try and catch me streaming Among Us or other stuff live, there will be a link to my Twitch channel in the description, more than likely. If I remember to put that there, I'd love to see you there. Or keep watching my content on YouTube. I appreciate the support either way, and I hope you've been enjoying the stuff on the channel. Also, I guess I should mention while I'm here in some random video, the YouTube channel just hit 15K, like, a couple of days ago, and at the end of last year is when I hit 10K, so that's 5,000 subs over the course of a year, which is pretty good in my books. That's like half of my entire viewer base added on top. So, yeah, thank you all so much for subscribing and whatnot. I hope you continue to enjoy all my content and whatnot. But, yeah, so there's your Among Us tier list based on my flimsy level of trust between all of my mini associates. And, yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in future Among Us videos or otherwise, or maybe even maybe I'll do some kind of other weird tier list video. Who knows? Time will tell. But, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Till then, farewell.